So we're going to move on to our last guest speaker of this bit, which is Mollie McGauran, who is the Vice Chair of the Scottish Youth Parliament, as well as being the former convener for SYP's Transport, Environment and Rural Affairs Committee. She's been re-elected as the MSYP for Inverness and Nairn last year, and she headed SYP's Bounce Back campaign last year, calling for a rights-based approach to COVID-19 recovery, and also the Get a Move On campaign, which encouraged young people to use active and sustainable travel. And on top of all that, she's also a full-time law and French student, so extremely busy. So I'm just gonna share Mollie's slides here. But yeah, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, I'm absolutely delighted to be here, and it was really nice to hear from our other two speakers as well. I actually know Zoe and I haven't seen her in a while, so it was really nice to hear from her today as well. So hopefully we'll get the slides up in a second. Apologies, I am joining from a car. I did think that I'd have more time today, but traffic says otherwise. So here we are. So hi, my name is Mollie McGauran. I'm the Vice Chair of the Scottish Youth Parliament, and I'm very excited to be speaking with you all today about my role and the wider sphere of youth politics. Next slide. First, I'll give you a wee bit of background about SYP for those that haven't heard of us. The Scottish Youth Parliament is the democratically elected voice of Scotland's young people. We are made up of over 160 democratically elected members, or MSYPs, who represent all 32 of Scotland's local authorities and 11 national voluntary organisations. We have a unique democratic mandate to represent the views of young people aged 12 to 25 across Scotland from a variety of backgrounds and communities. Next slide. We are also a fundamental rights-based charity, and our mission, vision and values are grounded in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, or the UNCRC. In particular, our purpose embodies Article 12, that young people have the right to express their views freely and have their opinions listened to in all matters affecting them. And we do this through our national campaign and advocacy work. While this might make you think about the work of the Scottish or UK governments, a lot of decisions that affect young people are made by local authorities. So we believe to create a rights-respecting Scotland, we need to have a say in decisions not just at a local level, but at a national one too. We need to see practices of meaningful participation of young people embedded through policy-making processes, and we need to have decision makers that know about and understand our rights. Next slide. Now onto specifically SYP's climate work. We've always been avid climate change activists throughout the years and have launched 2 environmental national campaigns in recent years. All Aboard, which called to improve young people's experiences on and access to public transport, and Pack It Up, Pack It In, which focused on reducing single-use packaging and waste and improving recycling in Scotland to reduce overall pollution levels. These campaigns have both been very successful and have also allowed MSYPs to call for more change within these areas. I was lucky enough to represent the views of Scotland's young people in the environment sector as the convener of the Transport, Environment and Rural Affairs Committee last year. I worked with several external organisations to collaborate on campaigns, to collate responses to policies, to run workshops, or to sit on or contribute to working groups. And last year, I was very privileged to be one of Scotland's 5 representatives at the Conference of Youth, where I met young people from all across the globe, all equally passionate about tackling climate change. I attended debates, workshops and speeches, and had networking opportunities and had the opportunity to better educate myself on global climate issues and speak to activists who shared my ambitions for climate justice. Following the conference, I also had the privilege to speak with many MSPs about my experience and the common themes that recurred in discussions and our priorities for them to consider going forward with their work. Maybe most notably, I spoke to the Scottish Cabinet at the annual Cabinet meeting with children and young people to encourage the Scottish Government to work with young people to tackle the climate crisis now. I think that in this call I made to the Government Minister that sums up SYP's position on involving young people in our climate responses. So yeah, this quote basically kind of sums up SYP's thoughts on the climate crisis. Young people aren't just the future of tackling the climate crisis. We are the here and now, and our enthusiasm and passion must be central to Scotland's response. Take the opportunity to include us, and I promise young people will surprise you. I was very happy with that one. It was a nice, snappy one-liner there. Next slide, please. However, as important as the national work is to address the climate crisis, it is easy to overlook the vital local work that we do. We encourage all of our MSYPs to reach out to their local councillors and decision makers. You'll often hear climate campaigners say, act local, think global. And that is because so many crucial climate solutions are local. Issues like transport, waste, and education all have at least some oversight by local authorities in Scotland. A good case study would be a mental health campaign called Mind Your Health. A few years ago, an MSYP got funding from their local council to help them create mental health kits. Initially, the project was only for one youth group, but by working with the council, she secured £6,000 of funding, so the toolkits were sent to schools all across the local authority. The toolkits were a huge success, and this is all the result of one young person having an idea of how to help the local area and working really hard with their council to address the problem. Another fantastic way many MSYPs and young people get involved with decision making at a local level is through youth councils, youth parliaments, or youth forums, whatever they're called in your local area. In my area, I have the Highland Youth Parliament, or HYP for short. It's a great example of how to engage young people at a local level. It includes young people from all the high schools in Highlands, as well as young people from local youth forums. Members meet and consult with other young people, attend local meetings, such as community councils, to be a voice for young people, and attend the Highland Youth Parliament conferences, where they engage with councillors and other decision makers. We also have a youth convener who is appointed to attend council meetings and work closely with other youth representatives across the Highlands, including the HYP exec team, so which I'm very lucky to sit on. So I get to see how all of the policy calls and campaigning calls that I make for in my SYP work, I get to see the practical applications come through in my Highland and local work. So this isn't the only way to do it. Opportunities will be different in different local authorities. So young people here looking to get involved should get in touch with their local youth workers and find out what happens in their area. Next slide, please. However, as I hinted at earlier, this should not be a one-way street. Young people have the right to have their voices heard, and for that to be done in a meaningful way, we need decision makers to create inclusive spaces for young people to speak up. This could look different in local authorities, but across Scotland. But what is essential is that those spaces are created. We need councils across Scotland to have a youth engagement strategy and a plan to meaningfully engage young people. But crucially, there is a second part to Young People's Article 12, the right to be heard. Our views have to be considered and taken seriously, and it's only a part of the way there if councils are creating spaces for young people to share their views. They also have to listen and act on them as where appropriate. So I would strongly encourage young people here today not just to engage with national politics, but to research their local youth council, youth forum, or just to start their own local campaign for something they want to see changed. Next slide. Thank you very much for listening, and if you want to hear any more about our work, please feel free